On this week's episode, we are joined by the new head men's basketball coach at Belmont University, Evan Bradds. From growing up in Jamestown, Ohio, to becoming one of the most accomplished players in Belmont basketball history, to a coaching career in the NBA with the Boston Celtics and Utah Jazz, to helping guide Duke as an assistant coach under Jon Scheyer, Coach Brad's basketball journey has been anything but ordinary. Belmont fans know his name well. As a player, Brad's became a two-time Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Year, two-time All-American, and the program's NCAA Division I era leading scorer. He helped lead Belmont to conference championships, NCAA tournament appearances, and some of the most memorable victories in school history. After graduating from Belmont, he quickly established himself as one of the bright minds in college basketball, spending nearly a decade developing players and learning the game at the highest levels with the Celtics, Jazz, and most recently Duke. Now, after a remarkable journey through college and professional basketball, Coach Brad returns to Nashville as the 11th head coach in Belmont men's basketball history. Coach Bradds, we're very excited to have you with us. Welcome to Deep in the Valley.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on today.
To get going, because every story's got that beginning, right? And how you develop that passion for the game of basketball and kind of some of those mentors that got you involved in it. Growing up in Jamestown, what first sparked your love for basketball and eventually got you to Belmont the first time?
Yeah, being from a super small town, you kind of grow up playing just with everyone you go to school with. I'm trying to think, I got like 8 cousins who are all boys on my dad's side. So we used to just play in the backyard and play on the driveway, and that's kind of where I fell in love with it. There's only 2,000 people in my whole hometown. I got 2 stoplights, so my father and my mother were gracious enough to drive me to Dayton pretty much every day during my childhood and let me go down there and play. And I really fell in love with just the day-to-day playing, practicing, competing was the biggest thing for me, and just fell in love with it from a very young age. Very fortunate that being kind of from a basketball family, I grew up with great mentors, my dad being first and foremost there for me every step of the way. He coached me all through being a little kid, all through high school, still a trusted advisor to this day. But fortunately, got the opportunity to play at Belmont and really fell in love with the college basketball game once I got here. College basketball was always something that was a dream of mine growing up, but being from a small town, you never know what will really happen. But fortunately enough, Coach Byrd took a chance on me and wouldn't trade my 4 years here for anything.
So when you arrive on campus as a freshman, did you ever imagine that you become one of the most accomplished players in program history?
Absolutely not. I tell this story to a lot of people, usually young players, freshmen or rookies in the NBA. I remember my first workout here at Belmont was summertime, around this time probably, and there were 5 freshmen in my class, the class of 13, which is, it's crazy to say 2013, it was that long ago, but there were 5 of us, and I remember Coach Byrd putting all 5 of us freshmen on the same team, my first ever workout here at Belmont, and we got absolutely destroyed. We were having problems getting the ball over half court. We were having problems getting the ball in the paint. I'm not sure we scored a whole lot either. We definitely didn't get any stops, that's for sure. And I remember some of us calling our parents after, wondering if this was actually for us. And I look back to some of the players that were on that freshman team. You think of a guy like Austin Luke, who's, one of the all-time point guards here at Belmont. So Coach Byrd set the tone with us pretty quickly, humbled us extremely quickly. And looking back, I know what he was doing now, but at the time I would have never have guessed that a lot of those guys on that team, we would have had as much individual and team success as we did.
So you had the opportunity to play for one of the most respected coaches in the college game with Rick Byrd. And what are some of the lessons from Coach Byrd that still influence you, the way you approach leadership and how you lead a team?
Yeah, I think he's one of the most accomplished coaches of all time, probably one that probably doesn't get enough credit, if we're being honest, from more people outside of basketball. I think the people inside of basketball who are around the game so much truly respect what he has done and understand how hard it is. But for me, I tell people this all the time. Coach Byrd was great on the court. There's no question. The win speaks for itself. But I would say he was an even better person off the court than he was a basketball coach. And that's, for me, something that I strive to do every single day. I think a lot more people remember Coach Byrd being a good person than a good basketball coach. And that's something that at the end of the day, the wins, the losses, championships or not, I'd rather be remembered as a decent human being than a basketball coach who's not a good human being.
Coach, you won conference championships as a player, NCAA tournament games, Conference Player of the Year awards, still hold Belmont's Division I scoring record. Looking back now, what moments stand out the most from your playing career?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the on the court moment that always sticks out to me is we used to play Lipscomb, who's our rival. We used to play them 2 times a year, which I feel like those kind of games are kind of the out of conference home and homes in the same year. They're kind of gone these days, but we used to play them twice a year. And I remember my senior year, and fortunately for me, I had a pretty good record against Lipscomb, and I was coming up on my 8th game. And I'll never forget, this was like one of those little things that Coach Byrd used to talk about too. If we don't have timeouts left at the very end of the game or end of the half where you get the ball out of bounds with like 4 or 5 seconds left, you might as well chuck it down court and hope someone catches it, right? And I just remember Lipscomb packed house over here at Belmont where they scored. I think they went up 1 maybe with like 4 or 5 seconds left. And I just got the ball out of bounds. And I remember seeing Dylan Windler running, streaking down the court. And I just chucked it as far as I could, tried to be Tom Brady-ish and hope that he caught it. But he caught that. And that was one of the bigger moments of my career just because it didn't have anything to do with me. It didn't have anything to do with Dylan. It just happened that the ball fell that way, and it was a great team win. And for some of the guys that were seniors on that team, it capped off a great career versus our rival down the road.
So you go into the coaching profession right out of the start after your playing career, and you had that first job with the Celtics. And how did that opportunity come together, and what made you think that was the route you wanted to go?
Yeah, when I graduated here, I thought I was going to be like, go play in Europe for 10 years and see what happens. I kind of had a feeling that I wasn't going to the NBA. There's a lot of reasons why. I wanted to play as long as I could and see what happened. Unfortunately, I got hurt pretty quickly after college, and that kind of ended my career. It comes back to Coach Byrd. He has a really great relationship with Coach Stephens up in Boston. And Brad called me one day and asked me if I wanted to work in the G League, actually, which was in Maine. It's still up there in Maine. They were the Maine Red Claws at the time. And I didn't know anything about the G League. I didn't know anything about the NBA. Growing up in Jamestown, I was a college basketball fanatic. Never would have crossed my mind that I would have been able to work in the G League or the NBA. And so I packed my car up, drove from Jamestown, Ohio to Portland, Maine, basically, and started coaching there. And that's where I fell in love with it. The NBA G League was 50 games at the time, I think, maybe even less. So you had a lot of time for the on the court aspect. It's kind of like that mix of the schedule is a mix of the NBA and the college schedule right in the middle. So it was a great first experience, and was fortunate enough to work with really great people up there, get a really great introduction to the NBA. And then fortunately got the chance to stay on in Boston after that first year in Maine.
So you spent then years working alongside Brad Stephens, people like Joe Mazula, Will Hardy. What are some of the most valuable lessons you take from those folks and then kind of incorporate into your philosophy today?
Yeah, I think those 3 guys obviously had a huge impact on me, all for different reasons. They're all their own coach. They all have their things about them. But I think the 3 of them, and I'm going to throw Coach Byrd into this as well, is they're just ultra competitive, man. I remember playing pickup with Joe Mazula in Boston, and it was like, man, sometimes I don't even want to be around you after the game because the games get so competitive. And I think back to times here at Belmont when I would watch Coach Byrd play ping pong versus our other players. It's like, man, I don't want to be around you sometimes because of how competitive you are. But those guys, all of them have their things that they're great at, but it comes down to being ultra competitive. And I think that rubs off on their teams in their own way. Coach Byrd knew exactly what buttons to push at what moment. Joe is just extremely intense at all times. Will's one of the best relationship makers I've ever seen. And Brad is just overall just incredible basketball mind and incredible at teaching the game. But it all comes down to how competitive they are.
So most of the career in the NBA has been centered around player development for you. And how has working with the NBA players shaped the way that you teach the game today?
Yeah, the 8 years in the NBA, most of the time was with the player development side of things. And I loved it because at the end of the day, there's a million different ways to do it. There's a million different drills that we could do, but the guys aren't going to do it to the best of their abilities until they know that you care about them. For me, that's a huge part of my job is to coach basketball, but it's also my job to help these dudes develop as young men and men in their life. And they have a lot of noise from the outside, whether it's social media, just people around, whatever it is. For me, it was the way I learned to do it best was just show them that you care about them. And when I say that, it's actually genuinely care about them. And I think being here at Belmont, I obviously care a lot about this place. And a big part of this place is the people that come through. So showing our guys here, we've had a lot of turnover here in the last year for coaches and coaching staff as well. So just showing that these guys that I truly care about them on and off the court, not just from a basketball perspective, but from a class, from a family perspective is extremely important to me because I think once you can establish that, the on court becomes a lot easier.
So as you transition over to Utah, and that role included developing young players, having the opportunity to coach the Jazz Summer League team. Can you talk to our listeners about maybe what that's like on a daily operations standpoint to coach a Summer League team? But maybe then what was your favorite part about leading the Summer League team in Utah?
Yeah, the Summer League coaching experience, it's really fun. It's a 4-week, maybe 3-week introduction to being the head coach, planning practice, doing all that stuff. Fortunately for me, we had the Utah Summer League as well as the Vegas Summer League. So I got to coach 8 games as the head coach. For me, the favorite part was, I guess I got to make all the decisions. You think you have all the answers as an assistant coach, and as soon as you get to be in charge, you're like, oh, I forgot about this, and this. And that's something I deal with every single day here. I don't have all the answers now. But the other part that it was extremely surreal, being able to walk on the court, the Jazz fans packed out the lower bowl of the arena in Salt Lake every game for Summer League, and it was really cool. And I remember in the Utah Summer League, it's obviously Utah, OKC, Memphis, and Philly. And I remember we played OKC the first time, and I walked on the court, and it was like Jalen Williams was playing, Chet Holmgren was playing, and I was like, all right, so we're basically playing the OKC starting lineup minus Shea, which was unique and fun. And then the next game, like, I walk out and we're playing Philly, and like Nick Nurse is coaching Philly's team. So, all right, NBA champion, Nick Nurse, who's an incredible coach, is coaching against me. And it was just like, all right, well, let's see what can happen. We lost both those first 2 games, but that's neither here nor there.
Nick Nurse, of course, Deep in the Valley graduate, Northern Iowa graduate.
Yep.
So we have to mention that every podcast, I think.
So before coming back to Belmont, you spent a season at Duke under Jon Scheyer. Talked a little bit about that transition from the pro game to one of the ultimate programs in the college game.
Yeah, when first approached about the opportunity, even to talk to Jon about it, again, growing up in Jamestown, you never think getting an opportunity to go to Duke is actually ever going to happen. And even to talk to Jon, it was awesome. Just to talk shop and talk ball with him was awesome. And then when he said, do you want to come to Duke? The job is yours. And I was like, man, this was a really tough decision to leave Utah, but it was just an opportunity I thought that I'd never get again. Yep. And I felt extremely lucky to go there in the first place. And going there is a whirlwind, almost like shell shocked when you get there. It's just a completely different game, completely different lifestyle. There's so many differences, but it was honestly an incredible experience that I would do over and over again. You talk about Duke as the program, you talk about the people that walk through those halls every single day. There's a reason they're at the top every single year.
What's it like coaching in that environment and then living in Durham during basketball season?
Yeah, the coaching there is incredible. Being able to coach there was awesome. Living there was great. The fans there are unbelievable. They have some of the best fans in the world, regardless of sport. The intensity that they bring every single game, the pressure that is on the team every single game, it brings out the best in people. And that's something that I love to be around. I love to be around people who want to be the best at what they do. And Duke is one of the best programs in the country. For me, it was an unbelievable experience. You get to coaching Cameron indoor for 15 games last year or something like that. It's an environment that I'll never forget.
So you were heavily involved on the offensive game planning and the player development side there. What does that role look like on a daily basis through the season?
Yeah, offensively and the player development side, Jon and I talked a lot, just one-on-one or in staff meetings about what the plan was, what we were trying to accomplish and just how best does our offensive plan fit our team. Fortunately, last year I got to work with some really, really good players, really talented young players. So they made life easy on the off. A lot of it was just one-on-one conversations with Jon or the staff about what we're trying to accomplish and new ideas, throwing them out at the board. And I would say the cool thing about Duke is the staff is extremely low ego. Everyone's got incredible ideas, and it doesn't matter where the ideas come from, just as long as they're pushing Duke forward.
Yeah. So share a little bit about your role this season, obviously with the head coach role, and how you're going to kind of utilize your staff for different roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, when I started building the staff, it was really, really important for me to have people around me that have been in the Valley, who have a lot of experience, because I'm not going to tell anyone any news that they already don't know. I've never coached in the Valley. I didn't even play in the Valley. So I don't know necessarily what the Valley is all about. So you talk about building a staff. It was important for me to get people who have been around the Valley for a long time, know what it takes, what makes the Valley unique. And for me, a lot of those guys they're just going to have to be completely honest with me. When I sound crazy at sometimes of why can't we do this? And they're like, well, maybe this will work better. That's what it's about. I'll say it again. I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of learning to do. I have 0 wins in my career as a head coach here at Belmont. So our staff is well-rounded, I would say. I think we've got a lot of guys that have been in a lot of different environments or a lot of different programs, which I think is awesome. You get to see what other programs do, not necessarily Belmont, and what's been successful for them, and you combine them together. And for our guys, again, just like Duke, it's low ego around here. We're not reinventing the wheel with what we're trying to do. We're just trying to win basketball games, and however we have to do that, I don't think anyone's going to be mad if it comes from one coach or another or me. It doesn't matter. We're just trying to do what's best for Belmont.
Yeah, you brought up guys that you have on your staff right now. You have one of the longest tenured assistant coaches at a Division I institution in Brian Ayers. Then you have, I think, between Brendan and Marcus, I think they've been at almost every single institution within the Valley as far as your Valley expertise and what it takes to get through that. And it's always good to have those guys to lean on that do have the experience when it comes to what the Valley is truly like, and maybe even some of the things that they with you about how the Valley is and the things that you're going to have to be ready for as you tackle the season.
Yeah, fortunately, I got to watch a lot of Belmont last year being at Duke, and I just turn on ESPN Plus and watch Belmont versus Illinois State or whatever. And I think what they have told me in a nutshell is it's an extremely overall just really good basketball league. You think of some of the coaches that run through here. It's extremely well coached. There's a ton of talent. You see that with either guys in the Valley right now or guys that have played in the Valley who are in the Final Four or something like that. There's a ton of talent. And then you just see the environments that you get to play in. Growing up as a basketball head, you know that you're going to go into Northern Iowa and it's going to be a great environment, or Bradley. And they've told me how physical the league is, how well coached they are, and how the offensive game plan has to be right, how well the defensive game plans are in the Valley, and just how hard it is to actually win. At the end of the day, that's what my job is to win games in a lot of ways, and the Valley makes it tough. It took Belmont, 4 years to win a regular season championship, and I think Belmont has had some pretty good teams. But you see it this year where you win the regular season and you get beat in the first round of the tournament, and that can happen in any league. But I think it shows the Valley is, how well-rounded the Valley is, and how hard it is just to win. Now, if you ask all the Valley coaches, it probably makes it more rewarding when they do. It doesn't make it any easier, that's for sure.
So, Coach, can you talk a little bit about the decision to make the transition back to the college game?
Yeah, I think it goes back to being from the super small town, always caring and loving college basketball, just growing up. And then you throw Duke, where I never thought I'd get an opportunity to work there, coach there, play there. It just was never on my radar. And for that opportunity to come, it was one that I just never thought I would get an opportunity again if I turned it down. And so for me, the decision wasn't really hard to leave Utah. Coach Hardy is near and dear to my heart. I love him to death. Still talk to him all the time. But it was just an opportunity for my family and I that I just thought I couldn't turn down. It was just an opportunity that, having to go through it again, it would still be a tough decision, but there were no regrets about it.
Was there any one particular point in your coaching journey that made you realize you know what, I really do. I want to be a head coach someday.
Oh man, I don't know. I think I love pushing myself to see what I can do in the coaching world, that being a head coach is the only way to, no, it's not the only way, but it's a way to see if I can do it. And there is the reality that failure could come from that, but it's something I'm willing to risk to see if I can do it. And I wanted to challenge myself at the highest levels and do that to see if I had what it takes. But I don't think there was like one moment. Coaching Summer League was incredible. It was, again, but it was like a 4-week introduction to what it's like. And then what's the difference between the college and the pro coaching style. And there's a lot of differences, but fortunately enough for me, I get to be the head coach here at Belmont, and somewhere that's really near and dear to my heart, which I really care about. There's nothing better than being in this chair.
That's a pretty great segue to my next question, which is when the Belmont job opens, Coach Alexander agrees to leave for Kansas State. Kind of what emotions maybe initially go through your mind, and what does the process look like for you to transition from Duke back to your alma mater?
Yeah, the first thing that went through my mind was I was extremely happy for Casey, Coach Alexander, and what he has done for Belmont. You talk about former player, former assistant coach, and what he has done for Belmont the last, 7 years, I believe. Maybe, yeah, I think that's right. But he took us to championship games in the OVC and helped us win the first regular season championship in the Valley. So very gracious for what he did for this program. And then second part was the next day after that happened. That was kind of late at night when it kind of got leaked, right? Phone started blowing up, and I was at the ACC tournament preparing for trying to win the ACC with Duke. And things happen quick. You meet with leadership here at Belmont on Selection Sunday, and then for the next week sometime I had the job. So it happened really quick, which was awesome. It's one of those things that it was definitely on my mind the whole week, but I was also trying to help prepare Duke to make a run in the NCAA tournament. So it flew by. And then when I got the job, I was just ecstatic in so many different ways.
So in 25-26, Belmont, as you mentioned, was the regular season champion in the Missouri Valley, but they did stumble in Arch Madness to Drake. The Bruins had a lot of their production leave through graduation in the portal. So after being hired on March 19th, can you talk a little bit about the journey that you've been on to build a roster to move them forward into 26 and 27?
Yeah, I think the first part of the roster was the retention of last year's roster, knowing that you're not going to get everybody. I kind of took the job. I was like, all right, I'm going to have to go find 13 players. And then every player that I kept, it was like all right, I just hit a single right there. But a lot of it was on the phone with the guys from last year's team. And I think I talked to everyone from last year's team, regardless as if they were kind of staying or going. I may have missed a couple, but it was really important to me to try to retain as many as possible, because if you look at last year's team, they had a lot of talent, not just from the starters, but there's guys that came in as freshmen and had big years that wanted to retain, help us set up on a good foot. So a lot of it was FaceTime, a lot of it was phone calls, just communicating with them, their parents. It was a whirlwind. I remember sitting up shop in Greenville in the first round of the NCAA tournament. There's this lobby area, and I just held it down for a couple of days. So it was really important there. And then once we got a couple guys to commit to coming back, which was great, but set us out on a good foot. We still had to go find 7 or 8 players to bring this roster to a whole. But that's part of it. The way the basketball works is nobody feels bad for you if you got to go find 7 or 8 new dudes. It's just what you got to do. One of us is trying to do the same thing, as trying to put the best team possible. Circumstances are they perfect? No, but that's life. So we just kind of tried to hit the ground running when we got here. Had our visits, had our Zoom calls. I can only tell you how many Zoom calls we did. But yeah, I like where we're at. We got a competitive group of guys, and we're excited.
So we just talked a little bit on roster construction, and that is the biggest challenge in the modern college basketball game. So you talked a little bit on the retention side as kind of being the main piece, especially coming in right out of the chute for what you got going. But what other kind of approaches did you take to build this first roster at Belmont for you?
Yeah, the first thing for me is, I've said it a couple of times, I got to find dudes that just love to compete. If you can't shoot, but you'll compete, all right, we will probably still get along. We'll figure it out, right? But if you can shoot and won't compete, we got some bigger issues. And for me, it's finding the people first, finding the people that we think that will fit in here. And that's hard with what some coaches call speed dating in the transfer portal. It makes it hard to get to know people. But my staff and I, we just tried to do as much background information on these guys as possible, talk to as many people as possible and as many as you can during this process. And it starts from there. It starts with the people first and how competitive they are and if they love it. It's really important for us. And there's never going to be perfect. Any coach that sits up here is like, perfect roster this year. I don't think you're ever going to find one that'll say that. But I'm really happy with where we're at. I think we got a lot of good dudes on this team who are extremely competitive. And then the rest of it, when it comes to X's and O's, we'll figure that part out once we get to know these guys more and more.
Yeah, June, July, summertime's a great time to start building what that process is going to look like. So what does the summer look like for you, the team, and the staff?
Yeah, so for us, it's a busy month. June, July, we have the guys here for 5 weeks. So they've been here for about a week and a half now. We have our little kids camp, it's a great introduction to Belmont basketball for these guys. We'll have our practices, we'll have our team workouts, we'll have our lifting, and we'll do a couple activities outside of basketball. Like we had a pickleball tournament last week. My team went 0-2, double elimination. So it wasn't a good showing for me, but that's life. For me, a lot of the on-the-court stuff is finding about like these guys and what they can do well, but also having them play together and learn how to play together is really important because as much as I know that this guy can do this guy can do that, it doesn't matter if they can't play with each other on the court. As much as I'd like to be out there with them, those days are long gone. So they got to figure out how to play together and what each other's strengths and weaknesses are too. So a lot of live this summer for us, which has been good. I think it breeds competition and you play the game 5-on-5. So a lot of fun as well.
So when Belmont fans watch the Bruins this season, what do you want them to see? What things will fans see that identifies your style?
Yeah, I think I sound like a broken record right here, but I want the fans to see that no matter what happens, no matter who we're playing, we're going to go out there with our 5 guys and we're going to compete extremely hard against the other 5 guys. And if you do beat us, you're going to have to borderline kill us. That sounds cliche to say, but that's my favorite part of the game is, all right, well, we're going to throw our 5 guys out at the end of the day against your 5 guys and see what happens. And the other part too is I want them to see that not only are we competing together, but we're playing together. All right, what does that mean? It means sharing the ball, not just jacking shots at any given moment during the game. We're all on the same mission, all in the same boat, trying to get that win at the end of the day. I mean, again, if you do beat us, which probably is going to happen some, we're going to get beat, but it's going to be a battle.
So does the style of basketball you want Belmont to play reflect your personality at all?
Well, that's a good question. I think so. For me, we always hear the argument of, do you love basketball? Do these guys love basketball? Do you whatever? For me, I like the competing part more than the actual basketball part. It was just basketball was the only vehicle I was ever good at. And so for me, I hope that like I said about Coach Byrd and Brad and all those guys, I hope it rubs off on our players. And what that style of play looks like, that could go a million different ways. But I hope that we're extremely connected, extremely physical, and together at the end of the day. And then that competitive juice. Every possession we outcompete the other team, I like our chances. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I'm not expecting these guys to be perfect in any way. I know they're going to throw the ball out of bounds at times, but we're going to move on to the next play and keep it going.
What has been the biggest surprise to you about sitting in the head coach's chair so far since March 19th?
Yeah. Every decision that you have to make is you never know until you're in the chair, I guess. And I still don't know. I'm still learning, trust me. Well, you said March 19th, so we're less than 3 months in now or whatever. So every decision falls on your shoulder, right? And there's a lot of delegating you can do, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decision. You have to make the decision to have practice here or have this drill here, this class schedule there. There's a lot of things that I still don't know and that I would have never have known just being an assistant coach. But it's just taking it day by day. I love being thrown into the fire. So I definitely got thrown into the fire. And what I've been telling people, I'm just drinking through a fire hose right now, trying to figure it out day by day.
So what excites you most about competing in the Missouri Valley Conference as a head coach this season?
Yeah, I think just everything I hear about the Valley and how good of a league it is, I can't wait to start Valley play. Of every single game you got to be on. There's no off nights in the Valley. Again, that makes it really tough. tough for coaches, tough to get wins, but it makes it more rewarding when you do come out and win. So I'm just really looking forward to the aspect of every single night you got to be on your best game. There's no off nights.
So Coach Dutler and I like to end our broadcast with some quick hitters and some fan questions or fun questions from the fans. So, Coach, what is your favorite arena that maybe you coached in last year in the ACC? And maybe what about the NBA before that?
I would say that there's something about Madison Square Garden, whether it's the NBA or college. Extremely fortunate to do both of those. It just doesn't get much better than that, in my opinion. So much history. The lights, they seem to shine different there. So I'll go Madison Square Garden.
That's awesome.
Favorite Belmont teammate of all time?
Favorite Belmont teammate? Oh, you guys are getting me in trouble if some of my other teammates listen to this. I think on the court, Monze Ekekeze, he was kind of my big guy partner on the court. I thought we played really well together in a lot of different ways. He was a guy that was so easy to play with. He made the game easy on both ends for his teammates, and someone that stepped foot on this campus and started almost every game of his career. A guy that just knows what it takes to win, and a guy that anyone would want to play with.
Who is the most challenging player that you've had to prepare for in a scout?
I would say probably Jokic. Those are not the fun scouts where you go into where you're like, yes, I can't wait to play him. Again, he's one of the best players in the world for a reason. He makes it extremely difficult to take anything away. And when you do take something away, he just finds a way to exploit the other parts that you're giving him. You see some of the coaches in the NBA say, what's your game plan tonight? They say praying. And you're like, okay, yeah, makes sense. Been there, yeah.
So one thing Belmont and Valley fans would be surprised to know about you.
Oh, surprised to know about me. Oof, that's a tough one. I would say I am fully retired from playing basketball because of knee injuries and still thinking that I'm 22 years old and knowing that if I do go out there, I'll put myself in harm's way.
But you've transitioned to pickleball. That's what I heard there.
I've played pickleball twice.
There you
I
go.
wouldn't say, again, I'm going to go back to basketball was the only thing I was ever good at. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, do you have a favorite kind of quote or motivational phrase that you like, or having a rough day and there's something that brings you back to focusing on the positive?
Oh, focusing back on the positive. Not necessarily a quote, but I remember Coach Byrd used to talk about this all the time. I was on 3 teams that won, or 2 or 3 teams that won the regular season championship in the Ohio Valley and then lost in the Ohio Valley tournament. And I just remember he used to say it all the time of like, we did lose. Yeah, we lost, but the sun will come up tomorrow, as bad as it does hurt. And that's something that I've kind of taken with me. Yeah, you might lose the game, but you're going to have to get ready for the next game once the sun comes up the next day. So maybe not a quote, but more of a life lesson. Yeah.
Bowser and I are going to come to Nashville and watch a game.
Okay.
Where are you going to send us to eat before? And that establishment, do you have a go-to order there? And what should we have?
Well, I think I have to ask you guys questions now. Like, what are you in the mood for? Because we got a little bit of everything. There's not just one place.
Brian and I like just about anything, but we do like barbecue.
So I'm going to send you to Edley's Barbecue on 12 South.
Yep.
There's a couple of them. If you have been to Edley's before, I can give you some more barbecue spots. I think Edley's it's right down the street from here. Literally, I could walk there in 10 minutes. So it's a place that I frequent, place that our guys, they have a lot. But again, if that's one you've already been to, we can definitely find you another barbecue spot.
What's your go-to order then, Coach? If you're 10 minutes away and you're going to go grab something right now, what is your order when you go to Edley's?
Yeah, I'm going to get the turkey plate or turkey platter, whatever they call it. You know what you're getting. It's going to be really good. And I'm going to get a side of probably mac and cheese. And this is how you know it's good. One of the sides is banana pudding. That's not a dessert. No. That's a side. So that's what I'm going to go with.
That's awesome. So you just did say that you were retired, but let's assume that your knees feel really good.
Yeah.
Both you and Eric Henderson, the head coach at Drake, are listed at 6'7".
Yeah.
Media days are coming up in the fall. One possession. Winner stays on the court. Who's getting the bucket?
Well, I met Coach one time a couple of weeks ago at the Valley meetings, and I think if he were on this, he would say that he's going to get the score. So being the competitor that I am, I'm always going to bet on myself. I still think I'm 21 with the irrational confidence of I can beat anyone. So I'm going to say myself, knowing that I am retired and no one can prove me different.
The other question we like to ask is about scheduling. Any non-conference opponents able to share with the listeners, or how is your schedule coming together at this point in time?
Yeah, we're working on it. It's a big puzzle is what I'm learning quickly. It's not easy to work out. We're getting there. We're almost done. I think we're in a good spot. So no one I can share yet. We will be hopefully in an MTE. That is going to be a pretty good one for us. But for me, the non-conference scheduling is all about getting our guys ready for the Valley. Just how can we play some quality opponents that are really going to get us ready? Because we know once, the December 13th window hits, the Valley is pretty much on. Comes quick, and 20 games. A lot of games in the Valley. And we know, again, going back to it, there's no off nights. So we got to be on our best every single night. And hopefully with our non-conference schedule, we'll be ready to roll.
Coach, before we let you go, any final thoughts for Belmont fans or all Valley fans listening to the podcast today?
Well, I'm excited to be in the Valley. I'm excited to be here at Belmont and extremely fortunate for this opportunity, and can't wait to get rolling and get to that Valley regular season.
Absolutely. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you joining Brian and I on Deep in the Valley. We hope this is not the only time that we talk to you. We'd love to chat with you throughout the season. But for all you fans out there, thanks for tuning in today and listening to Deep in the Valley. From Cedar Falls to Des Moines, from Nashville to Normal, from Carbondale to Chicago, we will be here every week talking about the best mid-major conference in the country and all the things that make it great. So thanks, and this has been Deep in the Valley.